Welcome to Jets Overtime, presented by Nissan. Eric Allen and Anthony back inside the BetMGM studio. The New York Jets fall to 2-7 on the year with a 45-17 loss to the Buffalo Bills. The Bills really took control of this game late in the second quarter, and they never took their foot off the gas.
No, they didn't. I mean, it was pretty true throughout the game, being that they were passing into the fourth quarter, which was kind of a head scratcher to me. But, they were a team that was probably just more disappointed on their performance last week, and they wanted to right some of their wrongs. And it just happened to be the Jets in their way today. But listen, it wasn't all because the Bills did everything on their end perfectly. It was because the Jets had some mistakes in this game. Turnovers clearly were huge in this game. You cannot have 5 turnovers. You can't have 1 turnover versus a team like the Buffalo Bills, especially this defense that they're playing against. And, of course, there were some penalties, a lot of technical penalties, in my opinion, holding penalties, things that you can control by the technique and how you do it offensively and defensively. And, of course, some situational things as well that happened early on in the game. You gave yourself a chance. The defense tried to hold on, Eric, probably, the first quarter and 2/3 into the game, but then obviously it kind of unfolds on you, and then of course they come out at a half and score right away. But I just think starting fast was the biggest thing for this football team. They didn't do that. First 4 drives, 3 punts, 1 interception, and that clearly was you kind of saw how the game was going to end up just on the beginning of the start of the game.
All right, coming up, we're going to hear from Mike White, who chatted with the voice of the Jets, Bob Wischusen. Ethan Greenberg and Eric Coleman are at MetLife Stadium. And Greens talked to one of the Jets' better players today, Michael Carter, the running back. Carter gets in the end zone for the 4th time his rookie season. And Elijah Moore is suddenly on a tear for the Jets. 4 touchdowns in 4 games, 3 receiving touchdowns over the course of the last 2 games. So a couple of bright spots right there.
Well, when you watch them play, clearly they're 2 players that don't care about the scoreboard, right? If you watch them play, you would have had no idea that the Jets were down in this game. Carter's becoming a guy that gets a lot of yards. He doesn't get tackled right off the jump. He can pass, right? That's clearly something he can do as well, but he's very dialed in. His cuts are quick. He rarely misses holes, and he rarely takes a tackle for a loss. So those are all good qualities, and he played 4 quarters of football today, which is really mostly impressive for me. 2 rookies that get it, that understand it matters the whole time when they're in there, every play. It's very easy for young players to kind of sulk and buy in because the environment around them allows them to take those qualities, and they don't. Him and Elijah Moore have done phenomenal jobs doing that, and it's good to see. That it's not promise. It's actually that those are real deal players for this football team that are going to help this team moving forward win a lot of football games.
Yeah, and those guys continue to play well, as does Elijah Vera-Tucker. There are some pieces here that the Jets can build on. It's hard to actually keep that in mind on a day like today. Mike White came into this game on such a hot streak. He threw for 405 yards against the Bengals in a historic performance in his first NFL start. Then last week against the Indianapolis Colts, played very well. He was well on his way to another big game, had 95 yards passing and 1 touchdown when he went out in the first quarter. Today we were wondering what was going to happen with the Jets offense, who had gained nearly 1,000 yards the last 2 games when they were matched up with perhaps the best defensive unit in the National Football League. Mike White was intercepted 4 times.
He was. I mean, listen, it's a humbling experience, this game, man. He only played 1 game, and it was lights out. It was a huge game. My expectation levels were not for him to come out again and throw for 250 or 300 or 350. That doesn't make any sense. And if you thought that as a fan, you're kind of crazy, because it's just not how the game works. There's tape on him. He's going to see a lot more difficulties as far as defenses and schemes and looks. But what he did show us is he can run the offense very well. Putting up the points. Even in the game last week when he was playing, it looked really good. So, today a little bit of pressure. Like, guys got to him. He started throwing off his back foot a little bit. Those things can happen when you play a team that has a very good defensive line. Mike White's a very good quarterback. He really is. And I think he'll probably be the guy in the next game, because if Coach keeps reiterating Zach Wilson has to be 100% healthy. So if that's the case, we'll see what that happens to be. But Mike White's done a great job. He understands the system. Today was one of them days, man. Every quarterback has them. And, unfortunately, Buffalo Bills are a really good defense, and that's just the bottom line. And they weren't able to put it together. And the turnovers obviously are killer. And he'll be the first one to stand up and say, look, I got to fix them. I got to get it on the right page. It's on my back. I love those qualities about a quarterback taking responsibility for their actions. And, look, he'll bounce back if he gets that chance to come out again. I'm sure he wants to redeem himself one more time because there is a lot of good that he had as a player so far through 3 games.
Mike White today, 24 of 44 for 251 yards and the 4 interceptions. The voice of the Jets, Bob Wischusen, talked to him after the game.
Mike, what do you think went wrong out there, at least at the start, having a tough time getting to a rhythm against, I guess, a really good defense?
Yeah, I think you hinted at it. We couldn't get in a rhythm, and that's just executing across the board, starting with me as the quarterback. I got to take care of the football and go out there and execute the plays and get us out of bad situations, and that's what it boils down to.
How about some of the decisions that you have to look back on, a couple of the picks? When you look at the tape, what do you think you're going to learn from this?
I think it was a little too aggressive in some spots, but like you said, I got to learn from it, and I'll be damned if I let this game beat me twice. I'm gonna watch the film. We all are. We're all gonna learn from our mistakes. We're gonna get better from it, and that's the only thing you can do in a situation like this is learn from it, embrace it, and don't let it beat you twice.
What Coach Salah say after the game?
No, I just brought it up and told us that we gotta do some soul searching. We gotta look in every one of us and look in the mirror and find a way to get better because we're a better football team than what we showed out there today.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Thanks.
You are watching Jets Overtime presented by Nissan. Eric Allen and Anthony Beck inside the BetMGM studios. The Jets fall by a 45-17 score today. They're 2-7 on the year, 0-3 inside the division. If the Jets are going to make headway down the stretch, they have to start winning games inside the division because you know what I thought of today? The Buffalo Bills are not only 3-0 in the division this year. They were 6-0 inside the division last year, and of course the Jets are already swept by the New England Patriots.
Well, they have a jump on all the teams in the division. Every team in the division is trying to get themselves rebuilt and get them to a point where they can be where Buffalo is right now, and they're taking advantage of it because they've done it the quickest. I think, when this team, obviously, you look at this, like the strengths and the weaknesses of the football team. Clearly, there's a lot of guys that are hurt, right? So you're missing some really key components. And as you watch the season, you want to hang your hat on positive things, but you also got to understand there is a growth process. You can't expect guys that are getting pulled up from practice squad or getting pulled from another roster or guys that are filling in that aren't necessarily NFL quality guys that can start, but they have to be out there and they have to learn very quickly and on the run. You got like guys like Davis that are back into play, but he's not fully back healthy. I mean, the guy hasn't played live football in quite a bit of time now. He's got his body's got to get going. Like C.J. Mosley, we know what we're getting out of him. Every single week, he's going to be one of the best defensive players on the field, period, on both teams. But again, the back end is restructured. It's different. The safeties are different. Not a lot of experience there. The defensive line is the one area in this football team there. If you want to put your eyes on something that can show up and give you something week to week, that's the element on defense that has to show up. And I think right now it's a little bit stale for whatever reason. Not really hitting the stat box as much, and not that stats matter, but pressures are important. Not necessarily getting the quarterback down, but how many times is the quarterback getting hit? Are they making it difficult for him up front? And then, of course, getting off and shedding and stopping some of the runs. I mean, the run plays have been not as many today, but they were effective versus the Jets defense today. And those are the things I think if you're looking at Robert Saleh, he's looking at the defense, those are the things that are disappointing because he knows he has weakness areas on the second and third levels of this football team. So, again, it's something to grow on. And then offensively, of course, you're kind of, the quarterback situation is what it is. You're trying to roll through it, but it's nice to have the weapons and pieces around the quarterback so that he can try to do something and they can still kind of run their offense, where last year it was kind of the opposite. The receivers weren't available and they weren't there. So you're seeing that growth from a Michael Carter and you're seeing that growth from Elijah Moore. You see it. I mean, it's there. Those guys are real deal players that you have to be excited about because I am. I mean, I see it. They played 4 quarters of football today at a rookie level. So what I mean is they just gave you that effort every single down. This, if you had not looked at the scoreboard, you would have said, man, like these guys are clearly winning the game, or that's the kind of effort you want. And these young guys are persistent with that, and that's very, very promising if you're a Jet fan or the Jets organization within house.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. Elijah Moore and Michael Carter continue to bring the juice. Here are today's statistics. The Bills roll up nearly 500 yards of total offense. What is not shown on here, Buffalo, just 7 third down attempts, 4 of 7 on third down. So they were moving the ball at will at times against the Jets. Conversely, the Jets, as Mike White told Bob Wischusen, no offensive rhythm today until late in the game when that game was basically decided. The Jets just 3 of 13 on third down. For more on this one, let's go back to MetLife Stadium and check in with Ethan Greenberg and Eric Coleman.
Thanks, EA. EC, let's focus on complementary football here. In this game in particular, the defense put the offense kind of in a bind, wouldn't you say, early on?
Absolutely. You know, it's tough as this young offense when you have a 17-0 lead, especially against a great defense like Buffalo. You know, they're one of the top defenses in the league. They don't give up a lot of big plays. And when you're down 17 points, it's hard to get a little momentum going. So definitely tough when your defense leaves you out there like that, but you know that's how football goes.
And also Buffalo, the number 1 overall defense, entering today the number 1 passing defense. Started to see Mike White throw the ball downfield, which maybe is a little uncharacteristic of the past 2 games that he's played in. Would you say that, or that's more what the defense gave him?
Well, you know, they needed it. You know, they needed some big plays. They needed something to get the momentum going offensively. I think they started off, you know, throwing some shorter routes, but they were jumping routes. You know, you got, you know, great players on that side of the ball, and there were some opportunities to take shots. So it was great to see.
How do you? This might be a silly question, but how do you start to try to play complementary football? Like, what's the recipe for success there moving forward?
Well, you know, I think as a defense, you have to start with taking something away. You know, whether it's stopping the run, you know, if they have a great receiver, taking that receiver away, not allowing that person to beat you, you know, that's where it starts. You know, bend but don't break. When you get in the red zone, try to hold them to field goals. Give your offense an opportunity to stay in the game early, to get their feet under them, get their bearings, and put some points on the board.
The Jets did have 2 turnovers. Sherrod Niesman with an interception. Michael Carter II with a fumble recovery. Just felt like it was a little too late at that point.
Yeah, you know, too little, too late. You know, but they kept fighting. You know, and that's the important thing is you keep fighting. You continue to scrap and fight for every inch. I think that the trend is you have to continue to try to come out to fast starts. They have to find a way to get this thing started early, put some points on the board in the first quarter to give themselves an opportunity to compete in the fourth.
Is there any benefit, and let's wrap up with this. This is the first time this season I believe the Jets will play back-to-back home games, welcoming in the Miami Dolphins next week, Sunday at MetLife. What's the benefit in that as a player?
Well, you can get into a routine. You know, you're sleeping in your bed. You know, you do stay in a hotel the night before the game, but you're at your own facilities. You know, the crowd can get behind you. It's 2 division games in a row, so you know that the motivation is there. You know, you don't want to lose back-to-back division games. You want to always win at home, defend your home turf. So I'm sure they'll be fired up next week to get rid of this loss and to move on and try to go out there and get a win against the Dolphins.
All right, thanks a lot, ECEA. Back to you.
Thanks, Greens. You're watching Jets Overtime, presented by Nissan, Eric Allen, and Anthony Becht. Let's talk about situational football. Early in the second quarter, the Jets are down just 10-0. Mm-hmm. They're at the Bills' 45, 4th and 1, delay game penalty. How does that happen, and why did it happen?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, that's a tough situation. When I saw that, you know, obviously you want to try to get a timeout in that circumstance. The situation was, you know, Elijah Moore, if you remember on third down, tried to reach out and get a first down right at the sticks. Now, they placed it short, but I think there's obviously a conversation going on between coaches, the monitors, trying to figure out, okay, is it a first down? Do we challenge it? Well, while that's all happening, unfortunately, the play clock is still ticking down. And with that being said, number one, play caller has to have a play down for 4th and 1 regardless, right? Because if it's first down, you're good. You can always change it and get it moved or whatever that needs to be. So the play needs to be ready, given to the quarterback, guys in the huddle. By the time they get to the line, you know, the procedure's going, but unfortunately the clock is 0. and the reason why it's a little disappointing is because it didn't just hit 0 and then that was it. They were like literally 2 or 3 seconds after 0, so no one was visually, the quarterback wasn't visually seeing it, the coaches or one of the coaches wasn't visually seeing it. No one really caught it. And, listen, someone on the staff has to have, that's their job, right? That's their eyes to make sure time and clock. And so, Robert Saleh, he's got to get something in his ear. Somebody's got to say something, or he sees it, or the quarterback sees it. But unfortunately, that was huge. I mean, that you getting over to their side of the field, that's kind of a big deal because the offense had been struggling the entire day. You want to carry that momentum, and unfortunately, on that situation, you just ran out of time. And it's really, it's inexcusable. I mean, you can't really say anything about that. You have to get that situation corrected.
All right, Professor Becht, we are still in the classroom.
Okay.
It's late in the second quarter. It's a 10-3 game. You're right there, and the Bills get the ball. There's a double move from Stephon Diggs on Brandon Eccles. They get a large gain down the sideline. Then Eccles exits the game with an injury, and they go back-to-back, Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. One's ruled incomplete.
Yeah.
The next one, he beats
Too
Javelin
crazy.
Guidry.
Yeah, both great efforts by him. I mean, listen, that guy's a stud now. He's not one of the best receivers on the team. He's like one of the best receivers in the league, right? So, coverage is important. Young player covering one of the great receivers in the NFL. You really have to understand, like, what is the damage that can be done versus me in certain situations. And of course, if you're up in a guy and you're potential double moves, you have to protect yourself and put yourself in a position to just give a little bit. Whether it's whether it was man or zone or however you want to play it, you got to make sure, okay, we're getting down towards the end of the half. Okay, we got to make sure I can't give up a catastrophic play. If I got to be a little looser in this situation, or through my film study, these are some things that he's going to try to take advantage of because I'm a young player. Even though I have confidence and I think I can do it, there's still things they're going to try to do and they're going to have to attack, and that's what the Bills are going to try to do. They're going to attack and they're going to go to their best player. And of course, down there, when you get into the red zone, another guy comes in. Diggs it was an outstanding throw, both of them, and both of them, a catch and a half, let's just say. They were both just phenomenal by both players, and unfortunately, there's almost unstoppable plays sometimes when you got players like that.
And it was an avalanche from the Bills in the third quarter as they scored 21 points in a hurry. But even then, after 17-3, you get the ball back. Mike White completes a long pass to Corey Davis. You're in plus territory again. Unfortunately, Micah Hyde strips it from him and then comes up with a recovery.
We said it in the pregame. He's an eraser. That's why I talked about him versus Mike White. I mean, he's a guy that, okay, this receiver just made a big play. Well, where's Micah Hyde to clean it up? And he does, and he made a huge play. And that's what he does. He's a ball hawk. He understands how to punch and rip and pull and tackle, all those things. We saw, like Leonard with the Colts doing the same kind of thing, punching the ball. These guys that are really good players, like these guys are some of the best at their position in the league. So, when you look at those kind of things, it's just great players making great plays. And unfortunately, again, another mistake that stopped this team from advancing and trying to get themselves in position, to at least make it a football game.
All right, we're going to go back to the stadium momentarily because Ethan Greenberg talked to Michael Carter, who was really good. And that's 4 straight games the Jets running back has gotten it done, both on the ground with some hard yards, gets in the end zone again, and he remains a big-time receiving threat out of the backfield. And actually, we have that right now. Take it away, Ethan.
Here with rookie running back Michael Carter. Michael, what was Coach Saleh's message to the team after this loss?
We got to find a way. You know what I mean? First, we can't shoot ourselves in the foot. I think we did that a lot, like way too much today. We're a good team. We need to show it.
Over the past 2 weeks before this game, the offense red hot. What went wrong today?
We just turned we just shoot ourselves in the foot too much. And everybody gonna point to the quarterback because he threw interceptions, but there's a lot that goes into that. So he can't just take all the blame on himself, and I know he probably will because he's that type of guy. But it's everybody's responsibility to take care of the ball, especially when you don't have it. You know what I mean? So obviously, the ball's in your hand. When the ball's in your hand, you want to take care of it. But you got to put yourself in the best position to make sure that your teammate takes care of it, whether that's an extra block or extra strain or whatever it is. So,
Greg Van Roten was telling me that one of the things that you can't do is you can't overcompensate. You can't try to do everybody's job for everybody. As someone who's young in this league, how do you make sure that you do the job to the best of your ability without trying to do too much?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, he's right. Like you can't do too much, but you can do your job the best. You know what I mean? And you can do your job within the structure, but then figure out how to add just a little bit to it to make that difference. So it's easy. You just got to do your job, and I feel like you do your job. You're interviewing me right now, right? So it's the same thing. Everybody just got to lock in a little bit more.
Michael, on the ground, or total for you had north of 80 scrimmage yards. On the ground, what was the difference between this game versus the last couple games where you were a little more successful, and how would you evaluate your play?
Buffalo's a good defense. They got a great team. They're trying to win a Super Bowl mode right now, and I feel like a lot of credit to them. Me personally, I don't know. I guess I had to go back and watch the tape. I don't know exactly how I did. I feel like I know I can be a lot cleaner, but just from a perspective of how did I do, I'll figure out tomorrow.
Michael, appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not only is Michael Carter a good football player, he's a hell of an interview. And Ethan Greenberg did do his job again this Sunday. Great job by Greens. But something caught my ear right there. He said the Bills are in Super Bowl mode right now. They really are. And you saw the gap between two teams that are in totally different situations. And you mentioned the Bills getting after the quarterback. 7 quarterback hits, just the 1 sack. That team had 10 PDs today. 10.
Yeah, no doubt. And, just real quick about Michael Carter, he just really impresses me as a player. This kid is very mature. He's very versatile. He's compact. He plays as if he's in his 2nd or 3rd year. I'll tell you, this is a hell of a pick now. This kid is really good, and he is going to be a long-time star for this football team. And another thing about him is he gets it, right? Mm-hmm. He could play in the locker room with me. He could have played in the locker room with the guys around when I played because those are the kind of dudes we had, a little more mature, just older guys, leadership. He's a leader of this team. He does it by example right now because obviously he can't be that guy that, that guys are going to rally to verbally. But, man, he earns your respect on the field. And you could tell the Bills have his respect. I mean, he's a guy that made some players look silly on the field today on some plays. And, he is a weapon. That when the scouting reports come out, teams, they say offensively, he's a guy they circle. Ty Johnson, same thing. He didn't get as many opportunities. But, again, Michael Carter is a guy and more. And that's going to be a week-to-week thing. And I can't wait to, see how that grows over the next couple of years.
That's a hell of a compliment coming from you.
Oh, yeah, he can play in my locker room.
You always talk about guys being from different generations. But Michael Carter's got an old soul. You can see that, and you can tell.
Yeah, and I never met him, so I know. I didn't have to talk to the kid. You listen to him, you watch him play, and you can come up and you understand. The kid gets it, and that's just what it is. And those are the kind of people I want in my locker room. That's the kind of people I wanted to play with, and that's the kind of people I won with. You want to win, you got to have more Michael Carters, guys like that, and those him and more. We didn't get to more yet, but those are 2 guys that understand what they're doing, and again, they're really good picks for this team.
Well, let's get to more. 3 catches, 44 yards. Some people will say, well, the touchdown was in garbage time, but the point of the matter here is 60 minutes, and he's gone for 60 minutes, and he continues to produce every week. You're expecting good things from guys like Moore and Carter every time they lace it up.
Well, when the game plan gets put together by LaFleur every week, these guys know that if they continue to do what they're doing, they're going to be focal points. And not only that is, teams can shut them down and find ways to shut them down. Well, good coordinators find scheme ways to get these guys open, right? So that's the difference when you're talking about, okay, well, they can shut them down. No, if you have a good coordinator, and LaFleur's done that, they're able to find different ways, inside, outside, motions, whatever it takes to get these guys to football. And they see that. And they're smart enough to know that that's how they're going to become great players, because if they do it every week and they show that, they're going to become focal points. And then, of course, the trust that your quarterback's going to have in you is going to be big, right? So when you're out there, all right, this guy's got me because he understands what I'm doing, my work ethic in practice, how I play in the games, I show up, good hands. hands, quick, always in the right spots. Those are ways to upgrade yourself very quickly as young players, and really two guys, perfect scenarios of why they're doing the things that they're doing so early.
Defensively, what do you do right now if you're a staff? Because it's tough. We talked about the juggling of personnel. We talked about the injuries. Josh Allen, there was a sack on him where you would have loved to seen actually a strip sack. Jets took him down twice today, but and Sherrod Niesman coming up with his first career interception. Allen had his way through the air, and the Bills, who did not run it well against the Jacksonville Jaguars, they found a lot of holes in this defense.
Well, you got to fight the fight, man. You got to continue to get better. You got to continue to improve. When you're talking about these guys, I mean, they're good players. I mean, they've done good things during this season. Last couple games, it's gone a little sideways, in particular up front. But when you see them make splash plays like the sacks and get into the quarterback, it's there. I mean, it is. So how do you get better with that from a team-wise? Because, honestly, it's, okay, well, that's the one thing you can hang your hat on. But also, teams understand, like, if they can do a little more protection or full gap protection or bring an extra guy in to help out, we can block these dudes. They got problems in other areas that we can take advantage of. So you can't kind of Band-Aid everything. Sometimes you can only rush with 4, and then sometimes you need to bring more. But they may be having 6 guys back there to protect because they know you're a little weaker on the back end, or there's some things they can take advantage of from another level of the defense. So you got to fight the fight. You got to correct what you do. The one good thing about it is a lot of young players are getting chances to really learn this game quickly. It will pay dividends. Unfortunately, it's going to take some time. May not pay dividends this season, but the only way to get players acclimated and better and to find out if they can play in this league is play them. And the mistakes are going to get made. And then what usually happens for good players, and I think we have some really good young ones, it's tough on defense, but they will learn. And then that next year they'll have more confidence and they'll grow. And they'll grow leaps and bounds because they've seen all the mistakes. There's going to be a ton of tape out there from them to learn on, and they can critique themselves with a coach, their position coach, with the coordinators, and themselves in the offseason. So, again, it's a big picture thing now. All right, nobody thought, we just said it. Bill said they were talking about they're a Super Bowl ready team. They're a team that's getting prepared for the Super Bowl. Well, that's not the Jets. Nobody thought Jets were going to the Super Bowl. It's all about just enhancing what you have, the product you have. And I was talking to you before the show. It would have been nice to have your complete roster for your first 8 weeks of the season with no injuries, with nothing going on, just to see where you could be, because there's some key players that just aren't out there right now, in particular the defensive side. When you give up 9 yards a play on 55 plays, that's probably going to be the highest of the weekend. Even for teams that probably scored in the 40s like Dallas and the Patriots today, I'll bet you they probably only averaged about 6 or 7 yards at most per play. So that's a lot of yards per play. That's, you talked about not being on third down many times. They didn't have to get there. I mean, when you're averaging 9 yards a play, you're not going to get to many third downs, and that's a problem. So you got to find ways. How do you win on first? How do you win on second? And the Bills' answer to the defense was pass early. Was a little bit of heavy play action. They had some trick plays themselves, but just when I thought they were going to run the ball into this game because they didn't do a great job of it last week, that wasn't their plan. They stick with what they're doing. They go with it because they understand these are our weapons, these are our guys, and we're going to keep passing it because those are the weapons and pieces they have, and they did a good job of it today.
So on the defensive side of the ball, we talked about Wilson coming up with his first career sack. Sherrod Niesman had his first career interception as well. Shaq Lawson and Quinnen Williams shared a sack. And then there was also a forced fumble that was recovered by Michael Carter, the second and other rookie who was produced early on here in his Jets career. But let's come full circle and end this talking about the quarterback position. What's the landscape now? We see Joe Flacco get on the board. Good for him. Yeah. Throws a touchdown pass to Elijah Moore. He was the backup quarterback today. Knock on glass, it sounds like Mike White is going to be just fine. But Zach Wilson got a long workout in prior to this game. What do you think the immediate future looks like for the Jets at quarterback?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, and this is how I would play it. I think we all saw this huge first game by Mike White. Look, Joe Flacco's played a lot of football. I would let these two guys compete if Zach's not going to be up this week, right? If they decide early, because they have to know early. because Zach has to be 100% like leading into practice this week so he could take all the reps and go. So if he's not 100% on Tuesday or Monday, whenever the first day, Wednesday, whenever they want to make it, then it's like, okay, next guy. Well, I really do believe you let those two guys compete. I wouldn't give Mike White more reps. I would make them equal. I would let them go out there and play the best guy off of practice. It's the only way you'll know, because you know what Joe Flacco's a vet, and clearly he wants to play, right? That's his mentality. That's his attitude. He wants to still play, which is great because you got an older guy that wants to go out there. And if he's the better guy in practice, then you let him go. Mike White, again, you got to earn this thing every week, man. You just don't get it off one game. You have to get it off practices, what the coaches see, how the game plan's prepared. So I think those two guys should compete. And if Joe Flacco happens to be the winner, then he's your starter. If Zach Wilson isn't ready to go 100%, because that's what coach is saying. So that'll be an early week decision in their minds, because you got to give him all the reps if he's good. If he's not 100%, he's not going to be able to get all the reps. So you're going to have to take that, go to plan B. And I think plan B is, it's not just Mike White. It could be Flacco as well, or however you want to go about it. That's how I would do it. But again, would I be mad if Mike White took all the reps and he was the guy because he's shown you enough and he's able to pick the offense? I wouldn't. But I just feel like, why not have a little bit of a competition in practice? They don't need every snap. I mean, they understand what's going on.
But clearly, if Wilson's ready to go, you're
if he is,
yes.
put him out there. I mean, if he's good, we're not going to learn anything else about Mike White. He's a good player. Mike White has earned himself a lot of money because of that game, regardless, whether it's here or anywhere else. That's just how it is, right? Look at Flynn in the past with the Packers, going to Seattle. Never did anything in Seattle, but he got paid a lot of money. His family ate well, and they're still eating well. And that's what Mike White has done for himself, and that's great. But at the end of the day, it's like you don't owe anybody anything off anything from a performance standpoint. They're not winning any games. They've lost 2 in a row. If your rookie's ready, you put him back in. That's just what it is. He started the season because you want him to play. You put him out there if he's ready to go. And if he's not ready to go, and you're going to know that early on, I would let those two guys go compete during the week and just throw the best guy out there. You don't owe anybody anything after that.
The Jets are past the midway point of the 2021 season. 2-7 overall, 0-3 inside the division. The final at MetLife Stadium today was the Buffalo Bills 45, the New York Jets 17. For Anthony Becht, I'm Eric Allen. Enjoy your night.